Welcome. I'm here again with the boys. We have another great target today, and I'm just going to go around the horn again. We'll start with Sean. And how'd you feel about the target this week?
Man, I'm kind of dreading tonight because I don't feel like I don't know what to think about what I got. I didn't feel like I had good sight contact. Um I don't know.
It was a hard one, and it was
Okay.
like,
Well,
well, I won't say anymore, but it was not something you'd be thinking about
yeah.
every
Well,
week.
it was I'll just say it was challenging. So, well, looking forward to see where they sent us this time.
Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I got a combination of stuff. It almost seemed like something like dealing with a lot of technological induced kind of stuff, maybe having to do with natural events. So I'll be interested in it.
Brian?
I'd say it probably had something to do with Templars, my guess. And there's a guy that's kind of interesting here who reads a lot, and he seems to me to be like kind of a smart guy who created this draft or something. And I think that's what the target is this draft. I don't know. Let's see.
Evan?
Yeah, I kind of had the same issue. This was really hard to connect to this target. I did get a person that came through with like, again, kind of a creative side to him, but almost like a deranged mind, I would say.
All right. Let's do a volunteer today. All right, go ahead, Derek. Let's talk us through the target. Talk us through what you saw. All right, so this was Pierre Charles L'Enfant designing the District of Columbia. So, Sean, that's why I said that was probably a W in
Hmm.
yours. And then Evan just straight up called it out. So obviously, you have the diamond-shaped city, basically. The sub cues were to the remote viewer is to view Pierre's process when he was designing the city of Washington, D.C. Remote viewers are to describe, and then number two, remote viewers are to describe the use of Brian, his Freemason symbology, and root meanings purpose of this design. All right, so just in terms of quotes, so Brian said this has to do with national and supranational power. Houses seem broken in a pile of rubble. So part of the development of Washington, D.C. were some of the lands were claimed through condemnation, right? So there were some like structures that were just basically condemned. Sean wrote, I keep seeing this chunky, older male, smart, scholarly researcher collector, studies old history. And then Evan just said, like you said it twice, Washington, D.C. And then you kept talking about river. It's probably the Potomac. And then Derek had person is depressed, has an unhealthy relationship with mother figure, socio-psychological concerns, gets lost in his own mind. I don't know if that's true of Pierre Charles L'Enfant, but he's kind of you have to be a genius to design this stuff. So, let me just go back again. So we're just going to go quickly over his background, as well as DC, and then we'll go through the analysis and then do a summary. All right, so I'm not going to read everything. I'm just going to kind of do the highlights. People who are watching can just freeze this. But Congress established a federal capital district, and they commissioned L'Enfant to design it. He didn't ultimately finish it. Ellicott and Banker continued because he was dismissed in 1792. He also had Masonic ties. Um, the district was laid out as a diamond, right? So that was your first uh, kind of the first thing you saw with the target was this dropping diamond, which might be symbolic of them kind of surveying the land and carving a diamond, like dropping it from on high, right, and creating the area. And then there's claims of pentagrams and zodiac motifs tied to Freemasonry. So some of you actually had grids on your design. I can't remember. It might have been Brian, but I can't remember who had the grid on this, like next to a river. But and then obviously there's the Freemason influence. What do you all think about kind of the target?
I feel a lot better about my data now. Like I just felt so unconfident, but looking at what the target was and looking at what I got, I'm like, oh my God, like I can totally see it. And it really does remind me of the National Treasure movies. If you haven't seen it, it's actually there's two of them. They're actually pretty good movies. They're highly entertaining. For a Nicolas Cage movie, that is.
Yeah,
But
I like
yeah,
it too.
Evan, what do you think? I mean,
I thought
Kevin, this guy is drawn Washington D.C. the entire time.
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting target, but I guess it kind of shows how easy it is to get contamination, but be on target too, because
I
there's
think you
so
were
much
seeing
history.
I think you were also seeing like the history of it too. You
Yeah,
were
that's
seeing
that's what
like
it is, because I
modern
think on
bums.
all of
Yeah.
our sessions, it was pretty wide swath of time, and just to be able to dial in on a specific time in history was something that has so much history over
Probably
such a
took
wide amount of
months.
time. Yeah, it's. I thought that was really interesting to see that.
That draft probably took forever to make. You know, you never know, but it's interesting for sure. The guy I think was pretty smart for sure.
Well, I mean, like, but all of you had like he was like in his own head. He was kind of like, I don't know if anybody said he was depressed, but it kind of like that was the vibe, depressed or dark psychology or this and that. So
Did he write any memoirs or any books or anything? I'm kind of curious to see what he has to say now.
In 2007, I went on a family vacation to the national park for Mount Rushmore, and the movie National Treasure Book of Secrets had just come out, and so the park ranger was talking about um, they had to close the park to film the movie, and they felt bad because there were people that came there on vacation or even flown internationally, and they couldn't see parts of the park because it was blocked off for the filming. But
mm.
she said John Voight was really nice because whenever he had a break in shooting, he would go up to the lines where people were and he would sign autographs, take pictures, talk to people. And one of the people in our tour group said, "Well, what about Nicolas Cage?" And the tour guide just got quiet. She goes, "John Voight was so nice."
Okay, so here's what ChatGPT says. All right, so Pierre Charles L'Enfant's personality was as striking as his artistic vision, brilliant, proud, uncompromising, and often difficult. Accounts from his contemporaries and later historians highlight some recurring traits. So visionary and ambitious. Let's see. I'm going to skip that. Proud and independent. So he insisted on executing his plan without interference, resisting oversight from commissioners and Congress. He refused to submit detailed cost estimates or to compromise on his design, which created constant friction with officials. He often bristled at criticism, believing only he truly understood the symbolic weight and technical requirements of the project. He was described as stubborn and quarrelsome. His rigidity and difficulty working with others became infamous. He clashed with landowners, surveyors, commissioners, and politicians. At one point, he demolished a house belonging to a wealthy landowner because it interfered with one of his boulevards without approval, causing a political storm. This inflexibility ultimately cost him his position. He was dismissed from the Washington Project in 1792. Beneath his stubbornness was a deep devotion to ideals. He saw the Capitol not just as a city, but as a symbol of the American experiment. He believed art and architecture should elevate the human spirit and unify a nation. His inability to compromise wasn't only pride, it reflected his conviction that to dilute his vision would betray the very principles the city was meant to embody. And then he's described as tragic and romantic. L'Enfant struggled with poverty most of his life. After his dismissal, he never achieved another project of similar stature. Despite his talent, he lacked practical political skills, leaving him isolated and embittered in later years. He died in 1825, buried in relative obscurity on a friend's estate, only later reinterred with honor at Arlington National Cemetery in 1909. and acknowledgement of his symbolic role as the artist of the nation's capital. So,
It sounds like a depressed human being.
Yeah.
yeah. Any final words?
No, another
Interesting target.
interesting target. Yeah, that was good.
interesting.
Yeah, great job, guys. Great job. And it was a tough target too. So we'll see you all again next week.
Watch the full debrief at ffgrv.com